Hey everybody, Pojo Lone Wolf here. I'm posting this video for two reasons. One is to announce the winner of the second intro video contest. The second is to answer a question asked by a viewer a while back. He wanted to know how long it took to make an AFB video. Now I'll preface this by stating that I'm basing my numbers off the past 5 or so AFBs, since before then they were shorter, and now I don't have user submissions from the other brawlers as well. But before we get into the numbers, for those that aren't as savvy with computers, I'll show you roughly how it's done. So first off, this is my cat. His name is Loki. Does he have anything to do with AFB? No. But he's crazy and I figure I'd let you all say hi anyway. Anyhow, first off, obviously everything starts right here at the Wii. And from there, if you trace the cords back, you find this other black box. And what this thing is an input to output splitter. You can see the gray cords coming from the Wii in the back there. And what it does is it takes that input and it splits it between two different outputs. One of which is obviously going to be the TV, and the other of which is going to be this other thing called the Dazzle. And this comes more in handy for my Mario Kart Wii sessions. Obviously for that you cannot record anything directly to the Wii itself, so in order to avoid the huge headache of playing the Mario Kart on my computer's program called Pinnacle, where the screen is the size of about a smaller baseball card, which would definitely be a headache, I get to play on this big TV instead, while still recording at the same time. From there, we trace the cord back to obviously the Dazzle itself, and while I'm sure somebody else could give a much more detailed synopsis of what this thing does, in essence, it just converts the signal from the RCA cables here. Oh, hi Loki, how you doing? And converts it to a USB, which obviously would allow it to flow straight into my computer. So with that out of the way, now on to actually how long it takes. Obviously, if you look at my uploads, each AFB in the 20s is separated by about 2 months. So 2 months was the total time it took. But I hope you wouldn't actually think I'm working on it during that entire 2-month period. So let's break it down. The next step is to gather the clips. So during a brawling night, I'll record any match that I saw, or at least thought I saw, something interesting or funny. I, however, am not 100% accurate, so sometimes I'll record something that is a dud, and I ultimately decide to delete it. The video gathering period was usually about 6 weeks, with 6 hours of brawling per week, though usually I also had to cancel a session or two, so we're gonna say 33 hours worth of just plain out brawling, which is about 500 total matches. The following step is the first screening process of the clips and the recording process of the clips themselves from the Wii to my computer. For this I use a program I mentioned before called Pinnacle. I would typically have about 250 total matches. Usually 150 of them were my own, and the other 100 or so were from users that submitted them via WiiConnect 24. I would watch them all, one by one, recording them to my computer as I went. If a video had nothing of interest, I would simply delete the source file, and the next video in line would simply replace that file I created on my computer. Typically, by that time I made it through all the clips, I have somewhere around 150 videos remaining. Since each video took me an average of about 4 minutes when you factor in the time I needed between each match to begin the next one, I spend a total of about 1,000 minutes, or just about 17 more hours just recording to my computer. Now I know what some of you may be thinking. Why not just use that input-output splitter and record everything live like I do for Mario Kart Wii? That would seem to save me quite a bit of time. And while that seems like a nice idea, I have several reasons why I don't do this. The first is due to dropped frames and music desyncs. You may notice that occasionally during my Mario Kart Wii races that I upload, that the video will jump, where it looks like you just missed a split second of the video. That's a dropped frame. And a music desync is when the various music and sounds go off beat from the video and occur before or after they actually do during the original recording. These things usually occur at random. For Mario Kart Wii, there's really nothing I can do about it. So I just usually avoid using those races in my uploads. But for Brawl, if I continue recording as I have been, I just have to go back and record it again. Simple and avoids problems. I don't want to lose a hilarious moment because of a dropped frame or desynced music. And splitting the audio from the video and then putting them back together again is a pain. This also means that I don't have to go and try and figure out which match this was in the middle of a 3-hour long video and go back in to record it again. My second reason is that I don't want to use every brawl I participate in, as I mentioned before. Even if I don't have to combine recording with my first round of screening, the first round of screening still has to happen. And I really don't want to have to watch all 33 hours of brawls all over again. This also brings about the issue of the amount of space 33 hours of video would take up on my computer. Finally, I also prefer having a whole bunch of small videos when it comes time to trim the videos down to the single moments I actually use for AFB. I don't want to have to watch a 3-hour long video to find 3 or 4 moments. The next step is the video trimming process, along with another round of screening. At this point, I have about 150 videos, as I mentioned before, each about 3 minutes long. I have to watch each one of them again, this time on Windows Movie Maker, and trim them down to the moments I want. I also use this time to remove any videos I decide didn't have anything interesting enough to use. Adding the time to trim and the time to add the next video makes each one take about 4 minutes. So that's another 600 minutes or 10 more hours worth of work. After that, since I've been trimming, I usually end up with 10 to 20 second clips per video. When you add it all up, I usually have about 35 minutes left of footage. I like that to be closer to 27 or 28 minutes. So obviously this means I have to do even more screening. I usually need to do it twice to reach the amount of time I want, so that's somewhere in the ballpark of another hour's worth of work. So at this point we are down to about 27 or 28 minutes worth of clips. What comes next is organization. I watch all the clips again and move them around to the appropriate section of the video, based on the segment that they belong. I then insert a few clips that don't really belong anywhere in between the various segments. And at this point, I typically add the intro as well. All in all, it's another 30 minutes worth of work. The next step is various forms of editing. This includes the text that comes between each segment, the creation and insertion of any slow-mo clips and freeze frames, any sort of sound effects or music I intend to add, as well as the credits. This usually takes another hour's worth of work. At this point, the editing process of the video should be complete. So I watch it all again just to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be and so that I can make any final adjustments. This usually takes me about 30 minutes. After that, if I'm happy with it, I compile it and then upload it to YouTube, which usually takes a few hours. But seeing as I don't actually have to do any work during this part, I'm not actually adding it to the time. And last but not least, once it's on YouTube, I have to add the annotations. Usually this takes about double the amount of time that the video actually is, so that's another hour's worth of work. So if you've been keeping track, I invest about 64 hours of work for just one AFB video. That's well more than 2.5 days worth of work. And if you want even more stats, if you stretch that out over all the other AFBs, adjusting for their approximate lengths that they last, it means that I have participated in about 12,000 brawls in the name of AFB, and watched over 14,000 when you add in the user submissions. And that also means that I've spent about 2 months over the past 3 or 4 years doing nothing but some part of the AFB process. So that's how it's done. I didn't get into how I actually select the clips themselves, determining what's funny and what's not, as it's really very much a matter of opinion. After you've watched 14,000 videos, you tend to get a pretty good idea of what to use and what not to use. Though, as I realized in watching Block Koopa's latest Brawl video, I do miss a moment every now and again. So I hope that answers any questions about the AFB process. If you have any further questions that weren't addressed in this video or you want some clarification, feel free to post your question in the comments. I'll be sure to respond, but just in the comments. I'm not going to make another video like this one for a while. And now, on to the moment that at least some of you have been waiting for. It's time for the winner of my second intro video contest. I had 5 submissions from 3 of you to consider. Criteria included how much I enjoyed the music, and how well that music interacted with the clips themselves, the effects used, and the overall creativity, among other factors, were all considered. Another factor was the fact that Nogo won the first contest, so his submissions had to fight a little bit of disadvantage in order to be fair to the other submitters. No video was perfect. I'll give a quick breakdown of my critiques for each video, in no particular order. Both of Block Koopa's videos were a little bit long, but he did make some very good clip selections and music choices. He also had some nice added effects. I think I liked his second submission a little bit more than his first, mostly due to his music selection. Nogo's first submission, while definitely funny and by far the most unique, it was almost a little too goofy. So while it didn't win, I really have to give him props for what he put together there. And on to his second submission, it seemed rushed. Though he did do a good job with the clip selections, and his music choice for this video was potentially my favorite of the 5 submissions. He also did a good job of syncing up the music to the clips, though the video was very much void of any other added effects. The fact that it seemed rushed may have also been kind of influenced by the fast pace of the music itself. Finally, we have Classic Hedgehogs. He had the most effects added by far. His clip choices were decent, though he could have done a little better job there, and his music choice was a classic. And he does get a little props for picking the Yoshi-related theme music as well. In the end, it was not a clear choice. I ended up having to choose between Classic Hedgehog's 1 submission and Nogo's and Block Koopa's second submissions. And I ended up having to get a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th opinion from a few other people before I finally settled on a winner. And that winner is... Yes, he did it again. Congratulations to Nogo. And well done to all of you as well. I really did have a hard decision to make. It wasn't an easy decision at all. So this video will be used as the AFB intro for AFB 30 and up to 34 if the series makes it that far. With the amount of time it's taking to get the necessary clips, and with SSB 4 coming out late next year, most likely, the conclusion of AFB is coming. I don't know exactly when at this point, but I'll be sure to let you know. It's not really close, but most likely sometime within the next year or so, I'm going to be putting a cap on it. I do, however, have some Smash Brothers Brawl plans for the interim between AFB's conclusion and the new Super Smash Brothers game coming out. So, as that gets closer, I'll be sure to inform you. With all that out of the way, I am pleased to say that the next upload will be AFB number 30, and that it will also be my 200th upload. So I hope you all enjoy it. Later!